We are reminded of the Sword Art online game launch where 10,000 players were trapped inside of the full dive reality device developed by Nerve Gear. Dying in that game meant dying in the real world too, thanks to the design of the Nerve Gear. While some players gave up and resigned their fates, others faced the challenge to clear the game. 2 years later, thanks to the heroics of one player, the game was finally cleared, freeing everyone who was still alive. In total, 4,000 people lost their lives there, and with the death of the mastermind behind it, Akihiko Kayaba, the incident drew to a close. The players who returned from the game are known as SAO survivors. Now they are trying to return to their normal lives. There is a news segment about the next-generation wearable device, the Augma. Compared to the full dive devices, the Augma just augments the reality, meaning it is an AR device, explaining how such a device is much safer than the full dive ones, as it allows the user to remain conscious while operating it. The popularity of the device is exploding as anyone can use it anywhere, and participating as a player in its latest game, Ordinal Scale, gives you various benefits while ranking up. Not to mention the game's image character, Yuna, who debuted as a world-first AR idol. She is an AI controlled by a program, but her speech and demeanor make her appear like another human. Our protagonist couple, Kirito and Asuna, are hanging out together with Silica and Lisbeth at a fast food in Tokyo. Lisbeth comments how those new Augma devices are absolutely amazing with the amount of features they have. Silica mentions how there is a rumor that the old bosses from SAO are appearing in Ordinal Scale as mysterious event battles. Intrigued by that rumor, they decide to check it out. Thanks to Kirito owning a bike, he and Asuna arrive in time for the next event battle. There they meet Klein and his gang, who also came to participate in the battle. Once the event battle begins, they are able to confirm the rumor, as the monster that appears to fight them is indeed one of the bosses from SAO. To everyone's surprise, Yuna appears as well. She performs for all the players who are fighting, boosting their abilities. The boss uses the same moves as in SAO, so the survivors who are participating in the fight already know how to handle it. Kirito is out of shape though, commenting how his body is too heavy compared to the one in virtual reality. As the fight reaches its peak, an unknown player joins in. His name is IG and he is ranked number 2 in Ordinal Scale. With his masterful moves, the boss is brought down to its knees. Asuna delivers the finishing blow and is granted the MVP benefits of the event by Yuna personally. Klein and his group tease Kirito for his lackluster performance before going home. On his way home, a member of Klein's group gets ambushed by IG in a dark alley. Inside the virtual world of ALO, Kirito meets up with Asuna and others in the home he shares together with Asuna. There they discuss how it is possible that the boss monster was exactly like an SAO. Wondering if it is possible that someone is trying to recreate old Aincrad from SAO in the real world. Kirito sends Yui to look into it, while others plan to go together to any such battle events in the future. Asuna meets up with Klein's group to fight another battle event, but they let her go ahead, as they are waiting for one of their members who is not responding to their calls. Yuna shows up to sing at the battle, which turns out to be another fight with the boss from SAO. Seeing Asuna fight in the distance, Klein's group decides to stop waiting and join her, but they get intercepted by IG. Even though they are all capable fighters, IG overpowers them with ease, beating them up and forcing them to be defeated by another boss monster from SAO that he summoned. Asuna does not notice any of that as she is engrossed in her fight, from which she emerges victorious, yet again being declared as the MVP by Yuna. Asuna is unable to find Klein and his group after the battle, but thinks nothing of it and heads home. The next day, Kirito is on his way to meet Asuna. Activating the AR device, he is surprised to spot another person behind him. A girl in a white hoodie that does not seem to be a player nor an NPC from the game. She produces no sound and just points in a direction before disappearing. Both Kirito and Yui are confused by this encounter. After meeting up with Asuna, Kirito finds out that the number 2 ranked player IG is in fact Nautilus from SAO. Asuna recognized him in the first battle, but it took her a while to make the connection as he is behaving completely different compared to how he did in SAO. She still cannot believe how masterful he moves in the AR game now. Yui alerts them that she figured out something about the event battles. Apparently, if one would overlay the map of the old Aincrad over the map of Tokyo and look at the locations where the boss monsters appeared, they would be exactly the same as where they would appear in Aincrad. Using that logic, Yui is able to predict where the next boss should appear. After sharing that knowledge with their friends, Asuna, Lisbeth, and Silica decide to head out and participate in the event battle. Kirito decides to step back on this one, stating how he is not that good at AR battles. Kirito wonders where Klein is, to which Asuna mentions she saw him last night at battle event. stating that he was waiting for one of his group members, but in the end, they never joined the battle. She also states there have been sightings of an AR ghost of a hooded girl in white around town. That evening, Kirito decides to go to the locations where the ghost was spotted and look around. Sure enough, he runs into the ghost girl, who speaks up this time around, wondering if he was looking for her. Even though he bombards her with questions, she does not answer any of them, only pointing into the distance before disappearing again. The moment she is gone, Kirito gets a call from his friend, Agile, with news about Klein. The event battle where Asuna, Silica, and Lisbeth went to begins with Yuna appearing to perform for them. The boss monster spawns and the fight is going well, giving Asuna time to spot IG nearby and talk to him. She identifies him as Nautilus from SAO, but he asks her to not use that name anymore, stating how he's changed since those days. It is then that another boss monster spawns into the battle, creating chaos and confusion among the players. Kirito arrives, but the crowd of onlookers that gathered around slows down his progress. The fight goes south with players getting defeated left and right. Silica gets knocked down onto the ground by IG, and as she is about to be hit by the boss, Asuna jumps in and protects her, with the boss hitting and defeating Asuna instead. Memories of her death in SAO flash before her eyes, and she falls down barely conscious. Kirito joins the fight and checks in on Asuna, raging at IG for what he did. Suddenly, the timer of the battle runs out, and the boss monsters disappear together with Yuna and IG. Asuna recovers, and Kirito drives her home before saying goodbye. During the night, Asuna wakes up from a nightmare, realizing that her memories of the time she was trapped in SAO are beginning to disappear. She calls Kirito, and they meet in their virtual home inside of ALO. There she tells him what is happening to her, and how she cannot remember their time together in SAO anymore. They go to the hospital where some tests are performed on her. The doctor tells them that it appears there was a force scan of her brain, focusing on specific memories, the result of which is most likely the reason for the disappearance of those memories. At the moment, he cannot tell them if more of her memories will fade, but over the course of the last few days, this same thing happened to others too. The implication that even more of her memories might disappear is greatly upsetting for Asuna, causing her to stress out and faint. Once she is feeling better, Kirito brings her to ALO, walking her through the new copy of Aincrad that exists there, hoping to stir some of her memories. None of it seems to work, and she breaks down in tears. Seeing her in that state, Kirito is determined to help her in any way he can. Thinking back to the talk he had with the doctor in private, Kirito knows that the memories of all the other SAO survivors are in danger of meeting the same fate, including his. He is frightened of the idea of forgetting his precious memories with Asuna, but even so, he wants to find IG and get some answers from him. And so he joins the next battle event together with Yui and Sinon, who is not a SAO survivor, so they reason she should be fine. And with Yui being an AI, she was also in no danger. The battle begins, and they learn that multiple event battles have started at the same time all over the city. Kirito does his best to cover the other SAO survivor players, but he is not as strong as in the virtual world. Yui spots a memory scan in progress and tries tracking it down, but she gets blocked by a firewall. But she is able to confirm that a specific program was being run on the Augma when an SAO survivor was damaged. Not having much to go on, Kirito remembers that the hooded girl was always pointing in a certain direction. He asks Yui to calculate the location she was pointing at, by triangulating the directions from where she appeared. The location in question seems to be the Todo Institute of Technology. Trying to figure out the connection between that location and IG, they learn about a man called Shigemura, a professor who works there who also designed the Augma. Kirito uses his connections to get an audience with Shigemura. He questions him about his connection to IG and the memory loss the SAO survivors are experiencing due to scans done by the Augma. Shigemura denies any knowledge of IG or that scanning function. Kirito's contact in the Ministry of Internal Affairs and Communications, Kikuoka, informs him about Shigemura's deceased daughter, Yuna. She was a victim of the SAO incident and died while in the virtual world. Kirito warns him about the hidden and very dangerous function of the Augma, asking Kikuoka to shut it all down. But Kikuoka says they cannot just pull the plug, and it will take some time and solid evidence before they can do that. Kirito visits Asuna at her home to check in on her and talk about what is going on. Kirito is left alone in Asuna's room for a short bit, and while looking around, he stumbles upon her diary. Glancing through it, he learns just how much Asuna loves him. Asuna returns to her room, and Kirito embraces her, apologizing for snooping around and promising her to do everything he can to retrieve her memories. They share a tender moment together as he professes his love for her, giving her a kiss. Shigemura contacts IG, telling him to hurry up with the plan as people have begun investigating them. Kirito is driving on his bike when his GPS gets directed towards a shrine nearby. He follows the directions, and once at the shrine, runs into the hooded ghost girl. She does something to his Augma device and finds himself suddenly in a different place. There he gets to talk with her, confirming that she is in fact Yuna. After asking if this is a dream of sorts, she tells him that there is really no difference between dreams and virtual worlds. Kirito bombards her with questions about Shigemura, what they are doing to people and what do they want, but instead of answering him, Yuna just sings a short lullaby, telling him that the only thing she wants is to keep on singing. Kirito asks what he can do to return Asuna's memories, to which Yuna says that he currently is too weak to do that. He will need to rank up an Ordinal Scale first. Before he can respond, she wakes him up and he realizes he was unconscious by the shrine the whole time. Kirito takes Yuna's words to heart and rushes all over the city to make it to the event battles, fighting and defeating every boss fight he can get to in order to rank up as much as possible, as quickly as possible. It is in one of the fights that IG shows up. Kirito attacks IG but gets overpowered and tossed around, almost like IG has supernatural strength. Before anything else happens, IG tells him to come to Yuma's concert tomorrow if he wants Asuna's memories back. Kirito spends the rest of the night and the next day practicing sword fighting on his own before going to the concert. There he separates from them to meet up with IG. Meeting IG, he states that he will get Asuna's memories back even if he has to force them from him. And so their duel starts. Shigemura is watching the broadcast of the concert, talking to himself. From that, we learn that he used his connections to get the original nerve gear for his daughter Yuna, since she wanted to play SAO on launch. Because of it, he holds himself responsible for her death. The duel between Kirito and IG rages on, and IG seems to have the upper hand with his unnatural strength and agility. Kirito learns from his short exchanges with IG that IG was with Yuna in SAO. He loved her and watched her disappear before his eyes as she was killed. Shigemura keeps talking to himself, explaining how Yuna's brain was too damaged by the nerve gear, but he can restore her by using the memories of her gathered from all the other SAO survivors. With that in mind, he created Yuna, who is slowly learning to become Yuna through the deep learning AI by using their memories. Kirito is on the losing side of the fight until he decides to go for the glowing device on IG's name. Tearing it off seems to sap IG of his supernatural abilities, turning the tide of the battle. Kirito defeats IG, but he does not return Asuna's memories. Instead, he tells Kirito that it is too late. With almost all of the remaining SAO survivors gathered in the venue for the concert, they will scan their brains and take their memories from SAO, bringing Yuna back to life. Kirito leaves IG and rushes back to the stadium floor to see what is going on. On the way there, he is contacted by Kikuoka, who tells him that the power output of the scan they plan to run in the stadium will be very dangerous for everyone involved. He tells Kirito to get the people in the stadium to remove their Augmas while he stops Shigemura. Arriving into the stadium, Kirito sees everyone fighting a bunch of SAO bosses. Yuna appears next to Shigemura, asking him to stop this. She tries to tell him that she does not want to come back. But he does not listen, reasoning to himself that she is still just an incomplete AI, and that her self-preservation protocol is making her say those things. Yuna gives up on trying to convince him and leaves. Kikuoka's team is tracking down Shigemura, but he keeps evading them. Shigemura then contacts IG, telling him how he needs his memories as well, since he was with Yuna the longest in SAO. IG is confused as Shigemura promised that he will let him be with Yuna forever. The betrayal is quick and precise, with a boss monster appearing in front of IG and finishing him off in his beaten-up state. Kirito and his friends are fighting against the bosses that keep appearing in the stadium. A deadly boss is about to wipe them out as Yuna appears, protecting them with a shield bubble. Kirito yells out to the other players to take off their Augma devices, but no one is listening to him. Yuna tells him that the only way to stop this is by defeating the final boss of Old Aincrad, which will clear the game and prevent more bosses from spawning. Using the hidden functions of the Augma, she turns it into a full dive machine and sends Kirito, Silica, Lisbeth, Sinon, and Agile to confront the boss inside virtual reality. Once they are in Old Aincrad, the battle against the final boss begins, and even though they are all extremely powerful and experienced, it is only a few of them against a raid boss, making the battle extremely challenging. In the real world, Yuna apologizes to Asuna, explaining to her how she was a player that died in SAO. So Asuna's memory was scanned to extract information about her. Yuna proceeds to tell Asuna about her father's plan to revive her through everyone's memories. But if he succeeds, everyone here is likely to die. Hearing that, Asuna overcomes her fear, and in order to help Kirito, asks Yuna to send her to Old Aincrad as well. Joining the fight, Asuna's amazing abilities are able to prevent anyone from dying. Finally, Yui joins the fight as well, bringing with her all of their friends from ALO. She helps even further, loading their character data from their days in SAO, which allows everyone to get their extremely strong gear back and use it in the battle. With combined efforts, they manage to overcome the final boss, clearing Old Incred for good. Kirito is granted a powerful weapon as a reward for finishing the game. They return from the VR, and it is revealed that Kirito has now become #1 on the rankings. Using his power and the new sword, he deletes all of the other bosses that still remain in the stadium. Yuna gives her final performance before thanking everyone for their efforts, explaining that she will disappear now since she was linked with the final boss of Old Incred. Shigemura is arrested, and the entire chaos in the stadium is explained as a surprise stage event to the public. Yuna keeps performing for people, although without the memories of Yuna inside of her. Some days later, Kirito and Asuna go on their promised camping trip to watch the meteor shower. There they spend another tender moment together as Kirito puts a promise ring on her finger. Hey, thank you for staying all the way till the end. If you enjoyed the video, give it a like. It takes only a second, but it means everything to us. Have a great day and see you in the next video.